The James Show Podcast.
This guy, I had never heard of him until this week. He's a representative named Himes, Himes. And I pulled some audio from an interview that he did yesterday, and I think he was talking to CNN. I have seen him on MSNBC like 6 times today. Where did this guy come from? And why is he the face of the narco boat strikes? This is Himes yesterday.
Yeah, so very, very good question. And there's a whole bunch of really important questions around that. Number one, why did they kill the first 2 guys and then they decided to rescue the second 2 guys, right? My guess is that there was a lot of discussion about what had just happened when they apparently deliberately killed 2 guys and that they changed their policy. We'll need to get those facts. But you're exactly right. Here we're being told, by the way, there is no such thing as a narco-terrorist, Katie, but we're being told that these people are just so horribly awful that they're responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans, that they create mayhem and violence and stuff. But what you learn when you consider the fact that 2 of them were repatriated to their own countries, we apparently, the United States of America apparently has enough evidence to kill these people, but we don't have enough evidence to try them in a court of law. People ought to sort of let that sink in and think about the implications of having enough evidence to kill somebody, but not to try them.
Yeah, actually, that's the most normal thing in the world. It's the same reason when we were in Afghanistan and we were fighting the Taliban. We didn't have our Navy SEALs go put the Taliban in handcuffs and ship them back here and make them stand in front of a grand jury. It's a different set of rules. Oh, you have evidence to kill them, but not put them on trial. What do you want them to do? You want to bring them here when they get a court-appointed lawyer, and then when you have a bunch of congressmen come and visit them in jail and whatnot? Silly thing. And, there's no such thing as narco-terrorists. Really? There's not people out there who do acts of violence and, just horrible torture and beheadings and putting videos of it online and sharing it around and scaring the crap out of people for their own purposes. And they also sell drugs? Not believable. However, this story's not going away. I am actually expecting this to escalate pretty soon. Trump said, look for land strikes.
Every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
That's right.
And if you look at our numbers, the drugs coming in through sea are down 91%. I'm surprised there's 9% here. I don't know who's doing the 9%, but it's down 91%. And we're going to start very soon on land, and I'm sure you're thrilled to hear that.
All right, I don't like the boat strikes, but this is such a non-factor for me. I'm a guy who thinks all drugs should be legal. You want to put the narco-terrorists out of business? You want to put Nicolas Maduro's drug business under the table? Legalize it. It ends tomorrow. Meanwhile, you can go blow up some boats, and you may hurt the terrorists, you may hurt the narcos, you may hurt Maduro a little bit, but Hunter Biden's still getting high tonight. Hello to Danielle, listening to WBAP in Monterey. He's down in Mexico listening. Okay. I guess sometimes our signal can go pretty far depending on the weather. I'll take it. Hadn't had that before. So hello down in Monterey, Danielle. Tell someone about the James Show. Because, look, you can still download Prize Picks and take advantage in other countries. My next guest, John Ingham. Welcome back. You hear him on the weekend team here for WBAP. And, John, the Cowboys have a game tonight. They're playing against the Detroit Lions. And I've kind of written them off for the season. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to watch the game here, but I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not going to let them get me excited because, I just don't want to be disappointed in the long run. But what do you think about today's game? Do the guys have a chance?
Well, first of all, I think that you've been this way all year. And so, but you keep coming back. You're still watching. And so I think that you're not wanting to admit exactly just how into it that you truly are, James.
You get to pick your friends. You don't get to pick your family. And since I was born here and I'm biologically raised as a Cowboys fan, I don't really have a choice, and plus I live and work in Dallas, so I got to hear about it all the time.
If you want to keep those ratings up. And yes, we are all geographically tied to them. So, this is a big game. And, of course, we've been saying that for the last 3 weeks because Philly was, Kansas City was, and this one is. These were, looking at the schedule early on, these were the 3 biggest games of the year. And these were 3 games that I thought when the schedule first came out, there was no way that they could win any of them. And now they have a chance to win all 3 of them. And here's the thing. Last week, I told you that Kansas City was kind of a wounded tiger, and that worried me. Well, The Lions are the same way. They're very wounded. If it ended today, James, they would not be in the playoffs. And this was a team that most people, me included, picked to win the NFC. And now they've got all kinds of problems. I mean, I heard I like your prize pick on Gibbs. I would have done that too. But their offensive line is struggling. They tried to sign a guy named Frank Ragnow, who had played for them forever. He was a really good player. But they're so banged up. They tried to bring him out of retirement last week, and he couldn't pass a physical. And so they're really scrambling. Amon-Ra St. Brown is their all-world wide receiver, and he is listed as questionable, but I really expect him to play. He's kind of the straw that stirs their drink, and without him, it would be really hard. And James, they have to have this win. And speaking of St. Brown, I don't know if you know his backstory or not, but his daddy was John Brown, who was Mr. Universe. And it's a really interesting story for you and your listeners out there to kind of go down that rabbit hole. This guy had decided when he was going to have kids to find a professional athlete, and he did. His mom's German. She taught the kids to speak like 5 different languages. They all went to Princeton or Stanford, all of these great schools, did really well. And anyway, it's just a neat story.
Cool. 2
of the kids ended up going to the NFL. So anyway, he is one of the leaders on that team, and he may not play, but I think it's a big game for the Cowboys. It's definitely one that they want, but they don't have to have this one, James. They can lose tonight, but then it's going to be really hard. They have to win out, I think, to get to 10 wins. And like you and I have been saying for weeks, they got to get to 10 to have a chance to reach the playoffs.
Well, look, at the beginning of the year, none of us looked at the Eagles-Chiefs back-to-back and said, oh, well, we're going to win both of those, because these were the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. So who would have guessed that we would have beat both Super Bowl teams, especially after starting, what were we, like 1-3-1 after 4 games? That was
terrible.
Yeah,
and we beat them in 5 days. I mean, just incredible. But you also have to look at the additions that were made on the defense, and that was what we've been saying all along. This defense didn't have to be great. They just had to be okay. Well, they're better than okay now. They're second in the league in rushing defense since Quentin Williams got here. Now, they haven't faced a rushing team like they're going to face tonight. Your boy Gibbs, they've got a stable of running backs, and it's what they do. They rank in the top 3 or 4 in every rushing category in the league. And so the Cowboys defense hasn't been tested like this, but, they really turned the corner with those additions. And from what I'm hearing, the guys started figuring out what Matt Eberflus wanted to do defensively, and more just like anything else in life, the communication got better. And once the communication got better, once they figured out the system a little bit, and Eberflus, to his credit, kind of adjusted what he was doing. They're now playing 3 down defensive linemen with 2 ends, so that's 5 defensive linemen. They weren't doing that early, and it's working. So it's going to be interesting to see, because they haven't been tested on the ground like they're going to tonight. And trust me, Detroit is going to run the ball. So back to your pick earlier, I think it's a good one, and I may call them and or do whatever I need to do and copycat your Gibbs pick.
So are you going to, if you had to put money on it, would you say the Cowboys win tonight?
Yeah, I would.
Wow. Okay.
I think that Dallas has a lot going for them right now. They have a ton of confidence, and Detroit is scrambling. They really are. We talked about their injuries a while ago. Dan Campbell he's hurting because he lost both of his coordinators, his offensive and defensive coordinators, who are both doing well right now. I mean, heck, Ben Johnson's got the Bears. They're the number 1 NFC seed right now. If it all ended today, as odd as that sounds. And so, Campbell's having to call the plays. That's really not working out. They're just in disarray right now. And that's really hard to believe with as talented as they are.
Well, if you want to go look through scores, you can find reasons to be optimistic, because the Lions beat both the Eagles and the Chiefs. I mean, lost to both the Eagles and the Chiefs, and we beat both the Eagles and the Chiefs. So I guess there's a scenario where it's not that crazy if they actually win. I just don't appreciate the terrible start to the season and then showing up so good at the end of the season when I could have had my Sundays open if they would have just been honest with us.
Well, that's right. But, again, they didn't have all of the players that they had, and they were trying to figure out what they were doing. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of football people out there that really respect Matt Eberflus and sing his praises. And so, it just takes time.
Well, and it also gives me hope that left on the schedule, if we can win this one, we're playing absolute garbage for our last last 3 games. Well, I take that back. The Chargers have a winning record.
The Chargers.
Right.
Yeah.
But everything else is garbage. And I don't mean Somali. I mean the Vikings, Commanders, Giants. They're all just doing terrible this year. So
I know, but they're NFC East teams, and those always worry me. But you're right. The big thing is we were 5.5 back of Philadelphia to win the NFC East, and I think that's their easiest path to get to the playoffs. And just 3 weeks ago, we were 5.5 back. Now, if we can win tonight, and if Philadelphia loses against the Chargers, we're only a half game back. And so now they have Washington twice, and they also have the Raiders, and their other 2 are very losable. So let's say they win those 3, that will give them 11 wins. Again, we really need to win this one tonight. We don't have to, but it would certainly be nice.
All right, great analysis. Sure. I appreciate it. John Ingham from the Weekend Crew on WBAP. If they win, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good, James.
If they lose, we'll just forget this whole season ever happened. Judd in Groesbeck, you're on WBAP. What's up, Judd?
Man, let's keep it light just real quick. You got to believe in the Cowboys. I'm
Says who?
Cowboys fans. But did you see that kicker for the New York Giants the other day? I mean, anything can happen as far as gambling goes. Just saying.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. You totally nailed me on that one. All right, so what's going down in goat country?
Okay, so this is the deal. With these drug boats, they're considering it a war crime or crimes against humanity, but they're promoting killing, babies and supplying these drugs to our Americans that are killing. So why are they, for these people killing Americans instead of Americans taking care of themselves?
Oh, man, I'm not sure you're going to like my answer on this, Judd, because this is where I pull out my stupid libertarian card, and it's a pox on both your houses. I am disappointed with the Republicans on drug policy because you're supposed to be the party of limited government, the party of freedom, the party of personal responsibility, the party of the founding fathers and the Constitution, all of which drug laws run afoul of. So number one, that's terrible. On the other hand of the coin, you have the Democrats who want drugs to be illegal, but don't want to fight the actual cartels. So you're getting all the bad parts of drug prohibition and none of the good parts of drug prohibition. So I think that's an even worse policy. So I always have to start this conversation with, I disagree with both parties. And of course, I'm not happy with the Venezuelan boat strikes, but not because I think that Trump's a war criminal or Pete Hegseth is a war criminal and needs to be sent to The Hague or have Nuremberg trials or whatever. It's because I don't think we should be blowing up drug boats, period. So the converse to that is, why are they trying to kill us? Well, are they trying to kill us? Because most businesses recognize it's not good for their business to kill their own customers. And I don't think there's so much as trying to force drugs upon us as we're demanding it with about $14 billion a month in drug purchases. No one is forcing Hunter Biden to smoke a crack rock tonight. He's going out and he's finding it his damn self. And if he doesn't find it in the first place he looks, he's just going to keep looking and keep asking and keep throwing more money at people until it happens. So the drugs aren't being sold to us. We are demanding them. And one of the things you learn about, economics is that capitalism isn't so much a theory as it's just laws. It's the law of supply and demand. And all we're doing is making drugs more expensive for the people here, which means if you're rich, it doesn't matter. If you're a poor person, you're going to have to commit even more crimes to continue your drug habit. So
I completely agree with you. And I'm a conservative, but I'm also lean towards libertarian. But if you look at these documentaries, and I don't want to say the channel, but, these dealers, they'll get good heroin or fentanyl or whatever in, and they want some of their clients to OD on whatever their brand is. So where everybody on the streets know, hey, we want this Blue Devil or we want this Green Monster.
Oh, I love that. I find that fascinating, too, because you and normal people would think, well, if someone ODs from heroin, that would make other heroin users not want to use it. They're like, oh, that must be the good stuff. You can actually die from that. I barely got high from that pack of baking soda that they sold me yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. So, but if you want that to stop, all you got to do is legalize it. And just like we learned through alcohol prohibition, the number of accidental deaths from tainted alcohol actually went down when we legalized it. And so it's reasonable to think that if we put the drug manufacturing and distribution in the hands of legal, legitimate entities, that the number of accidental drug deaths and especially fentanyl poisonings would go down. But if you're going to force it into the hands of the cartel, they have less of an incentive to do that. What they're already doing is illegal anyway. So, what's...
I mean, and like I said, I agree with you. Do you have a pencil and a piece of paper right there?
What is this, 1988? No, but I have a computer with a notepad file in front of me. I can type in something you're about to say.
Yeah, so whatever drug you can think of, I have done in my life. And it's, it is so readily available, but I don't do it anymore. And I haven't done it in 30-something years. But it is still there, and it will always be there, whether it's legal or not, in which some things should be legal, some things shouldn't be legal.
All of them.
It's just like, I don't think all drugs should be legal. It's like, okay, you're going to say all drugs. Well, then if something is bad for you and you commit a crime doing it, then should murder be legal?
Yeah, murder should be illegal.
Okay, but some drugs should be legal. I agree, marijuana and certain other things should be legal, but, Schedule 3s, coke, meth.
Why not all of them?
Okay, well, we agree on that then. Yeah.
No, I want all of them. I don't think we agree, but we're pretty close out there. And for those of you who wonder why I call it Goatland, it Grosbeck is the goats.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I look, small school people know that.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. Y'all have one of the best mascots in Texas. Real quick, here's a 1-minute rundown on new laws that went effect this week for Texans from WFAA.
So first this morning, we're going to start with House Bill 8. It phases out the STAR test. Instead, students will take 3 shorter assessments, fall, winter, and then in the spring. These new assessments won't start until the next school year, even though the law takes effect today. Now also in effect is House Bill 18. It targets lawmakers who break quorum, adding steeper fines, limits on state funds, and the loss of seniority or committee assignments. This follows the recent walkout when more than 50 Texas House Democrats left the state in an attempt to block a proposed GOP congressional redistricting map. And perhaps the most controversial law, Senate Bill 8, known as the bathroom bill. It requires people to use restrooms and changing facilities in public buildings like schools and jails based on the gender listed on their birth certificate. Supporters say it protects privacy, while opponents say it discriminates against transgender Texans. Under the law, violators could face fines up to $125,000, but enforcing the law is still unclear.
All right, to the phones we go. This is Mark in Sherman. Hey, Mark, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James. I listened to your last caller, and I'm a big libertarian myself, James, and I've never used any kind of drugs. I don't want to and never have. But if my dad even used to say, if you legalized all that stuff, it would throw a fatal blow to organized crime. I mean, if you really wanted to knock the slats out from organized crime, just make it all illegal. I mean, the people that got common sense are not going to use that stuff. As far as, like population control, you talk about getting rid of the dumbos. The people that were just on crack all the time and everything, you wouldn't have to worry about them. They could self-eliminate. And then, like I said, people like us that got enough brains not to use it, we'd do fine, and organized crime would go down the toilet.
Yeah, well, I think organized crime would go down the toilet. I don't think it would have much of a factor on whether or not these people self-eliminate. If you want crack, you can go get crack. They're already getting all the crack they want, doing all the crack that they want. They would probably actually eliminate themselves slower because when you buy your crack from the crack store or from CVS or Walgreens, it's less likely to be tainted with fentanyl or some other intoxicant. So we might actually be extending their lives and helping them a little bit, which wouldn't be, from a humanitarian perspective, a completely bad thing. Thank you very much for hanging out today. Thank you, Mark and Sherman. Come back tomorrow. We'll do this again, and I have another special auction that's going to happen at 4:05 tomorrow. Follow me on social media or follow WBAP on social media. I'll put it on Facebook before the show. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.